If you're about to go on vacation, there's a few things that you'll probably want to make sure you've taken care of when it comes to your fish. Maybe it's the day before your flight and you're like me and you've still got a lot of stuff to do. Let's go down a quick checklist and my tips on how to prepare your fish tanks for travel. Hello everyone, this is Bentley, and today we're going to talk about a few tips for when you take a vacation and you can't be there to take care of your beloved fish tank. Now, the great thing about fish is that, relatively speaking, this can be kind of easy. Hopefully you have a friend or family member that can come over, or maybe you've got dogs like I do, and maybe you'll have someone that's going to be there kind of pet sitting that can help take care of feeding your fish. But if that's not the case, let's go over a few things to set your tank up for success and ways that we can make sure on longer vacations your fish are going to be a-okay. My first tip is really important. Water change, service your filter. This is the absolute best time to go through and service your filter. Whether it's a hang-on back, a canister, a sponge, whatever it may be, now is when you want to take that time, get those things cleaned up in tip-top shape and ready to go. You don't want to deal with something like maybe you've put off cleaning out a sponge filter or a pre-filter, and all of a sudden in the middle of your vacation, your aquarium's not getting the filtration it needs. The water flow's dying completely down, whatever it may be. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Clean those filters out, especially if you're looking at like a pre-filter that gets a lot of mulm, or you got a heavier supply, or maybe you got Team Thick like I do behind me who produce a lot of waste. Service those filters, make sure that everything's running a-okay, and afterward it probably won't hurt you to do at least a light water change, just to make sure that your water levels are nice and high, you don't deal with too much evaporation, and your fish are ready to go in a nice environment. My next major tip is pretty simple. If you have a planted tank, the morning you're about to leave, if your flight's not super early, or do it the day before, dose fertilizers into your water column. This is going to make sure that there's a little bit of fertilizer left over for all your plants, so that while you're gone, they've got something to feed on, and you don't have to worry about something too catastrophic happening to your plants. Now, if you're only going to go away for a weekend, this isn't so much of a problem. But if you're leaving for like a week, like I'm about to, that is a really, really good thing, just to make sure that, again, we want to minimize the chance of any negative effects happening inside our aquariums. Third major tip, let's talk about food. If you don't have someone, like I'm very fortunate, I'm going to have brother-in-law James here, so he's going to take care of my fish for me while I'm gone. I just had to make sure that tanks are clean, filters are good, all that kind of stuff. Then what you want to look at is something like an auto feeder, or some other kind of food that your fish can eat over multiple days if they're not the type of fish that will gorge themselves too much. There's a lot of options, and usually you won't be able to pull this off last day, but maybe your local fish store has something like the Eheim auto feeder or one of the other ones that are out there. They're relatively easy to operate. They typically run on batteries. You just have to find the kind of happy medium of dumping the right amount of food from the feeder into your tank and set the timers. Most of them are very, very easy to set up and take minimal effort to get them up, going, and ready so that your fish will keep getting fed the way you want them. You can set it to twice a day, 3 times a day, once a day, whatever it may be that's best for your fish. Get that set up so that they have their food the entire time. This is especially important if you're dealing with something like African cichlids, where they're a little more aggressive if they don't have plenty of food. Let's make sure they get food. But keep in mind, if you can't set something like that up, a lot of fish can go many days without food and be okay. A majority of our tropical fish only actually need about 1% of their body weight per day in food to be okay. Now, this isn't all fish. This is a majority. Keep that in mind. Certain fish are different. They have different needs. But if you can get a food in there, something like rapashi or something that takes a little bit longer for them to eat at. If you got shrimp, you can get like those little Zoom Ed blocks that actually take a while to eat. Some kind of food like that where they'll pick at it for a while. This will give you something that can get the food into their fish for a couple of days. You just drop it in right as you're leaving, let them go, and then let them kind of just fast for the rest of the time. As long as you're not dealing with aggressive fish, they should be okay. Temperature. I talk about this a lot in a lot of different videos, but If you are going to be gone for an extended period of time and you deal with a reasonable amount of evaporation, or maybe you run a dehumidifier because you have a dedicated fish room, consider turning the temperature of your water down a little bit. Not a lot, 2-3 degrees is all it really can take. Your fish can handle this for a week or so, unless you're dealing with some particularly fragile fish that have really strict heat requirements. But if you're going away and you need to keep those tanks warm and the rest of your home is, say, air conditioned or whatever, consider doing that in place. Or if you know you're going to be gone and you're shutting your air conditioning off, make sure that the temperatures in your house aren't going to get so hot that then combined with that heater, now you're dealing with excessive heat with your fish. Make sure that you're keeping that in mind. If you're altering your house's air system or how your heat or whatever it is, like let's say it's in winter and you're altering your heat, make sure that those heaters are set to handle that, and vice versa in the summer. If you're going to go away and no longer cool your home, make sure that your heaters don't add excess heat to that water. Turn them down a little bit. This is going to make sure that you keep that environment as tip-top as you possibly can for your fish while you're away. If you're not already adding excess oxygen to your tank, consider adding an air stone. Why? If you're running everything else in your tank, why do I need to add an air stone, Bentley? Really simple. Extra oxygen never hurts, especially in the summer when temperatures are a little warmer. Extra oxygen is just going to help you in the long run. And just in case, if you're in an area where you deal with a certain amount of power outages or something like that, and maybe your filters aren't the most reliable for priming themselves back on, maybe you have some issues with specific canister filters or something like some of the aqua clears that don't always prime perfectly, air stones will keep water movement going, and if you've got plants, that's going to make sure the plants can do their job during that period of time, especially if you have less feeding. Makes it easy. Finally, if you are dealing with any kind of lighting that is not programmable or on some kind of Wi-Fi timer, consider having your lights either off the entire time or go invest in something like a Wi-Fi timer or a manual timer. That way, you've got something controlling your lights instead of yourself or a remote or something like that to make sure that they're not just on or off the entire time. That way, your fish tank keeps its kind of normal balance. They really won't be too aware that you're gone. They might just be like, that human hasn't given me food for a couple days. Something's up. Instead of, why is it light the whole time? Or why is it dark the whole time? Or whatever may happen with your fish tank. Is this absolutely necessary, the light part? No, not necessarily, unless you have some very finicky plants. And then for the most part, you're probably already dealing with some programmable lights as is. But just in case, it always helps to have a little bit of timer. Make sure that everything is taken care of. That's it. Those are my tips for success while you're away on vacation, especially if you don't have friends or family who can stop by and check in on your aquariums while you're gone. Several fast, easy ways that you can take care of the weekend before. Like I have, I've gone through, I can't tell you the number of filters I've cleaned this weekend already and the number of water changes I've done. And I'm still going to have people here, but I'm just doing it to make sure that everything is A-okay. We're topped up, so you can't yell at me about water levels today in the comments, people. Ha! But seriously, several good tips, easy peasy. Make sure that your fish are going to be A-okay while you're away on vacation. Because we don't want to be stressing the entire time we're gone. Like, are my fish okay? What if the water level gets too low? What if I lose power and the filter goes out? They won't have oxygen anymore. Oh no, oh no! Let's take away as much stress as possible so we can rest, relax, and have fun while we're out there. Whether you're going to a tropical destination or you're somebody like me heading off to a fish convention. If you enjoyed this video, give it a little thumbs up. Tell me down below, is there something you learned? Is there something I missed that you think is absolutely critical before you go away on vacation to make sure that your aquariums are okay? Let me know down in the comments. You know, I love hearing from you guys. If this is your first video you've seen, I do all sorts of tips videos, product reviews, you name it. Consider subscribing. Maybe even ring that little notification bell so that you don't miss a thing and you get to enjoy all the stuff coming up in the future. As always, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.